Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We got a big one today. This week offers us a solar eclipse. We also have a mini grand trine that, because of the word mini in there, makes it seem like it's not very profound, but it is a big one. We're going to go over all the dates, and all this energy is really synchronistic into putting you on your destiny. So, let's go surfing. All right, your destiny awaits, everybody. Here's our summary chart for the influence. Obviously, front and center is the Aries solar eclipse. Creative power from the I-Ching. Creative power, as most of you know, is hexagram 1 of the I-Ching. And, yes, I actually do throw the coins. And yes, it just seems like if you were to go pick the hexagram in the I-Ching to match this energy, you'd pick hexagram 1. So it almost seems like I'm cherry picking, but no, I'm actually doing the work here. So the I-Ching says creative power. We'll go through that and what that means, but it's a perfect match to the Aries eclipse. Also, and aside, the sun in Aries is exalted, so it matches that as well. And then that mini grand cross. We have been talking about that in weeks past because it's with the slower planets, but it's just getting stronger and stronger. We call that waxing, and we'll give you all the dates associated with that. The Dreambot seems to imply that evil plans are being destroyed, and that will be first up on our list of things to accomplish, and then we'll go through the astrology. So it's going to be a big one. And let's get started. Big shout out to Not For Me To Say. And he wins this week's Best Comment Award by saying, "Just keeping my mouth shut if I can, being grateful for it all, and that's it, observing the beautiful chaos." Now, that is a very wise thing to do, not for me to say. However, as we're going to see in the rave reading, if you haven't seen that already, it's asking us to come down from this sort of Zen state and wise state. This is very wise advice, but this is the time to probably not keep your mouth shut. But it's not just like talk, because there's a rhyme and a reason to it. But anyway, congratulations, not for me to say. Time for you to get out there and give your wisdom to others in need. All right, where do we begin? Let's go to the Dreambot. Take a look at this. So, number one word in the collective unconscious or people's dreams, number one dream word in the world today is hook. With 1200 surge score. I go through the data and I look at the numbers just to verify. And sure enough, it's just like hook is hardly ever used, and all of a sudden it's being used in a lot of people's dreams. Well, linguistic set number 1 is interesting to me. It says hook ended. Well, hook as a metaphor for hook, line, and sinker. Being deceived in a way, or being entrapped. Either way you look at it, the number 2 word is ended. So hook ended. I think that's a pretty cool sign. It's like a relieving sign. We're ending our deception, ending our entrapment. Linguistic set number 2 says monster hour recall. That seems to match the hook ended. And then what about this? Decided sky enough flying. Well, to me, that sounds like the big news. Let me show you this chart. This is big news. I copied this from social media. 26 states now, I think, that have passed legislation in their state to end atmospheric geoengineering. Is your state on this list? Mine's not. And so I guess I need to start opening my mouth, because I want to be in that group. Anyway, let's get back to the Dreambot. All the red arrows are, let me just read them. Hook, ended, hunter, monster, fragment, control, march, collapse, sense. You know, some of these words you saw these last week, but they're lower on the list. So anyway, it looks like they're attempting, but then linguistics says that there's a deterioration of it. It's collapsing, a deterioration of evil plans. It's a question mark. What do you guys think? And that is the dream bot. But here trivia question of the day before we get into astrology. And I want you to pay attention to these because there's so many other alignments that we're going to talk about. Will Mercury, who's in retrograde, so background, Mercury and Venus, both in retrograde, both in a conjunction with a few degrees between them, are marching backwards and they're going to be going into Pisces. Well, my question, this trivia question is, will Mercury, who is normally faster than Venus, catch Venus in Pisces? And if so, what's the date? All right, something to look at. All right, now you are here. This week, this entire week is in this shaded area, this tiny little sliver of time, and it separates. It's the new eclipse cycle is this week. So we're crossing the threshold into a new moon, a new solar eclipse 6-month period. And it's in Aries. And we're also leaving March this week. This will be the last week in March. And this is where we see Venus retrograde going into Pisces, and then Mercury goes into retrograde. We have our solar eclipse right here. And then here's April. I haven't put any of the information out. There's just so much to talk about. There are some considerations here to look at. In particular, these black lines are called parallels and contraparallels, inclinations, and these are remarkable. These provide a lot of intensity to the other regular alignments that most other people talk about. Well, it looks like I forgot to do this energy chart. I think you're going to see kind of a hump of it's a hump of yang, but towards the end of the week it starts to crest off, not completely, just sort of takes the edge off, but it's maximum right here at the beginning of the week when all these players are in Aries, and then Venus kind of one by one. Venus will leave Pisces, and then Mercury. So, but we have the mini grand trine too to remember. All right, where do we now? We're going to go day by day. Thursday the 27th, Venus is in retrograde, and she is at the threshold. All right, this is a little glitch in my software. I mean, it shows that Venus technically is in Pisces at 59.9 minutes, 29 degrees of Pisces, but yet it's showing red, which sort of signifies Aries, but it's a little glitch. Technically, she has crossed over the threshold back into Pisces. So this is the essence of this is revisiting emotional depths and spiritual connections, revisiting your relationships, healing past wounds, dissolving barriers to intimacy. So with this, imagine diving into the ocean of unconditional love. That's Venus. Venus is exalted in Pisces. And so, yes, we're expecting this Aries, bam, yang type creative energy of the solar eclipse. And that's just in a matter of hours at this point. But there's also a big presence of Pisces. So it does bring some connectedness, not some, but a large amount of connectedness, hope for connection in the future. We are one kind of a feeling, mysticism. But Venus moving back into Pisces is vulnerable, transcendent, might be easier to forgive. Those are some of the feelings, might become lost in a sea of emotions. The archetypes, the mystical lover, the compassionate healer, the hopeless romantic dreamer. But consider this, though, with this pending solar eclipse that is just waiting here to happen. It's just like we're in collective of waiting. But imagine if Venus didn't, go back into Pisces before this. She too, our relationships are much more contentious, kind of fiery, and harder to see each other's viewpoints and a little bit more conflicted, So this is a really good thing cosmically that Venus is now back into an exalted state. All right, Friday, I want to focus here on the mini grand trine, and it's defined by two sextiles. These sextiles are on Uranus in this case. Uranus is in Taurus. And so we got changes. The things are changing towards what should be, because should is Saturn, Saturn's watchword. And there's a structure to Saturn, and there's a discipline, and there's the way things should be. And then we have Mars. This Mars in Cancer is really putting motivation towards the way things should be, the changes, to make the changes the way they should be. It gives you the ability to carry out the changes that you need that your life should look like. The water signs here are Mars and Saturn, and they bring an extra amount of emotional sensitivity, and that's not just like a vulnerable sensitivity. This is a sensitivity to emotions, which means that when there's an emotion present, if it's motivational, boom, it goes right into Mars, and it wants to behave, right? So that's what emotional sensitivity means when Mars is in play. And we'll be harnessing the power of imagination to manifest tangible changes. Thinking of Uranus in Taurus, changes in the material world. The feeling states of this mini grand trine, and well, let me finish this thought. Feelings of the mini grand trine is confidence in one's ability to create positive change. The changes seem warranted and purposeful, not just random. Like a typical Uranus is just sort of like, what the heck? I didn't ask for this. But this is now sort of makes sense because we have these real harmonious alignments. The sextiles and the trines basically have Mars gaining multiple trines into Pisces. And it looks like in this chart that all these players are in Aries, but it's just because I want the symbols big enough for you to see. They have to be stuffed into this house, and that's why they're kind of look like shifted away from Pisces, because they're in this chart, the 10th house. So that's the only reason they're not aligned. But you'll feel an inner peace amidst external chaos. Let me say that again. That's an important one. You'll feel inner peace with this alignment, and it'll get stronger and stronger, even though there's external chaos. There's sort of a rightness to all this chaos. Imagine a farmer tending to a high-tech, sustainable agriculture system. Maybe this guy. Electroculture gardening. That's this alignment. And excited to do it, too. Okay, so timing and the technicals on this mini grand trine. When does this thing go exact? Well, it's all on one day. We have 3 players, right? So you have Uranus sextile Mars, that's one. You have Uranus sextile Saturn, and then you have Saturn trine Mars. So you have 3 different alignments. They all go exact on the exact same day. It's April 4th. April 4th, 2025 is going to be our next CIRF report. The first one is Uranus and Saturn. That sextile goes exact at 11:20. Well, that's not first, but that's PM. But Uranus sextile Mars also on April 4th at 6:04 PM. And in between that, Mars trine Saturn, this one goes exact at 8:08 p.m. on the 4th of April. Okay. But consider this too, though. I mean, these are relatively slow planets. So just because it's not like it drops off after April 4th, it's taking months to get to this, especially the Uranus and Saturn sextile. But they're very tight. Uranus at 24 degrees, Saturn at 24 degrees of Pisces, Mars at 22 degrees, a lot faster planet. So anyway, very, very tight, and it's just going to get tighter this week. And here's the eclipse. Here's the solar eclipse. You can see it right here. Moon conjunct Sun in Aries at 9 degrees exactly. 9 degrees, 0 minutes. It's verified by Sun parallel Moon. When they're conjunct and it says parallel, that means it's an eclipse because they're within 1 degree of each other. They'll overlap as apparent to us. So if there wasn't enough change already with the mini grand trine, all bets are off now with this eclipse energy. It's a partial solar eclipse. The fact that it's in Aries means intense new beginnings and fresh starts. That includes both the new moon and the eclipse, both in the next month, but also in the next 6 months. So change will relate to what house this eclipse falls into your own natal chart. But just generally, it's an amplified courage to take risks and embrace change. Heightened energy and vitality underlying all those changes. The sun in Aries is exalted and becomes a warrior donning the armor, ready to conquer new challenges. It's the energy of a rocket launching into space. That's this energy. Feelings of great exhilaration, enthusiasm, confidence, boldness, fearlessness in the face of uncertainty, passion and drive to pursue one's desires. You're probably going to see other people acting rashly, impulsively, probably without considering any consequences. You'll see an uptick in disputes, and luckily, again, we have Venus over in Pisces now, so hopefully that'll stay a little bit at least moderated or balanced, but you're going to see more Aries conflicts, especially as people feel more bold to stand up for themselves. The technicals of this, the times depend on where you are. And this is the area at which you will see some form of the partial eclipse. And this is the credit is to timeanddate.com. I'll put a link down in the show notes and you can go there. If you're interested in knowing where you can see this, this is the website. That's my favorite website to go to. So partial solar eclipse be seen in spaces in Africa, Europe, northern Russia and China, and also in the far northeast of the United States, North America, Greenland, parts of East Canada, Nova Scotia, most likely. Those are the areas. And by the way, if you're interested in the next one over in, can't remember. Then in the next 6 months, there'll be the next solar eclipse. It's going to be down in the Antarctica. Why is that so hard to say? And oh, by the way, also on the 29th, this is the day of the eclipse, 29th of March. And just to give you an idea, in the central time zone is 5:57 a.m., but times vary depending on where you are. By the way, on the 29th at 9:18 p.m. later that evening, Mercury re-enters Pisces. It's like a I take it back type of energy for the mind. So Mercury's coming from Aries in a retrograde. It impulsively has been saying a bunch of aggressive words, most likely, or bold, I don't care what you think. And then later goes into Pisces and says, "Yeah, can you forgive me? I didn't mean to say that." And then reminder, be looking for, will Mercury catch Venus? And if so, when? But this is an interesting transition here. Sunday the 30th, while two of our fast moving planets move from Aries into Pisces, now one of our long standing Pisces planets now is going into Aries. That's Neptune at 0 degrees. And that's at 6:53 a.m. on Sunday, the 30th of April. Aries just lost two planets. The dreams and fantasy of finding self. Aries. This is a gradual over the course of Neptune's time in Aries. We should expect a gradual awakening of kind of a spiritual warriorship, but it's certainly of a courage and boldness that we didn't have before. We had fantasy of and imagination and dreams of self-sacrificing and being in the collective, being one with everyone else. And now we're finding our individuality now, slowly. Growing desire for transcendence through bold action, like not sacrificing really anything. I'm going to go after it now. More dreams about conquering, strength, passion, courage. The underlying feelings of Neptune and Aries is a faith in one's intuitive guidance and spiritual path, growing restlessness and yearning for something, existentially more, spiritually more, a rising passion and zeal for a cause, gradual awakening to one's spiritual power and potential. So we got the spiritual warrior, the inspired visionary, the intuitive trailblazer for Neptune and Aries. Monday, the 31st, looks like we have a balance now. This is post solar eclipse. Pretty good balance between Pisces and now Aries. Moon is waxing crescent still. And the big news here is probably the biggest focus is Mars and all those trines. Mars in Cancer cares and is doing things because of caring. And it's towards our Pisces. It's towards connection and oneness. Tuesday the 1st, this is when things start happening in the late stages of Pisces. Venus and North Node is exact. Profound reassessment of values, relationships, communication as you look into the future. Deepening intuitive understanding and spiritual awareness. Maybe feelings of, because Venus in retrograde, dreamy about nostalgia, longing for past connections, simpler times, connecting with your intuitive knowingness. Oh, a good image here is just a poet lost in contemplation, pen hovering over the well-worn journal. And then on Wednesday, rounding out this week, this CIRF week, the big focus is this huge energetic channel from Cancer to Pisces. And that's a harmonious flow of emotional energy, desiring perfected spiritual growth. It's a perfect match to the rave. And the rave mandala reading this week, I've already done that video. I will put that down in the show notes below so that you can review that later. But I just want to point out that this energy in this mini grand trine in all aspects of the alignment itself is a perfect match to the rave, as is the eclipse. Imagine Mars trine Pisces. Imagine a warrior laying down their sword and offering a comforting embrace. Seeds of perfected spiritual intention planted in the fertile soil of the unconscious mind. Feeling states would be deep emotional connection, empathy, willingness to protect it and move forward. Creative inspiration and a flow of artistic expression. It's important to note that we're still on this. This is just one leg of that mini grand trine, and it's solid lined, meaning that it's a waxing energy. So it's getting stronger, but this is the strongest it's been all week. And for, the strongest it's been for some time, as this has been building and building. Uranus changing the material world with a sextile over to Saturn. It's righting all the wrongs. It's good change. It's change that should happen. This is the way things should be. There's a cosmic rightness to it. So, anyway, trivia question. You want your answer? Where's Mercury? So Mercury is 27 degrees. Venus is at 26 degrees. So very close, within about a 1 degree. And unfortunately, Mercury is not going to make it all the way to Venus before Mercury turns station and direct before Venus will. So the answer is no. Mercury will station on 7 April with about 1.5 degrees still to go from Venus. So let's get into the I-Ching. No shocker that it was hexagram 1 became the result with a change line over to 5. So the air is ripe with imagination, inspiration, and energy. This describes the solar eclipse to a T. The flying dragon is an ancient symbol of a dynamic, arousing force that bodes well for creative movement. But you can see how it also matches that mini grand trine. Totally. This first hexagram contains all yang lines and is one of the most auspicious readings of the Book of Changes. Line 5 says, "The dragon is soaring. Your power is growing." So, these are the feeling states: empowerment and confidence, inspiration, enthusiasm, focus and determination, vision and ambition. All right, let's summarize. Let's summarize the influence. Here we go. You got the Aries Ram, you got the solar eclipse. The cosmos is orchestrating a remarkable series of events in your favor beginning this week. The potent Aries solar eclipse new moon arrives as a catalyst, infusing your deepest passions and life purpose with renewed confidence, clarity, and vitality. The sun, experiencing exaltation, works in harmony with this transformative new moon to illuminate your authentic path forward. Meanwhile, a rare waxing mini grand trine, there's nothing mini about it other than it's technically what it's called. The rare waxing mini grand trine formation creates a flowing triangle of supportive energy, insightfully and persistently guiding you towards alignment with your highest potential. All right, let's get to the solution so that you know how to act and behave to best maximize your success this week. We put our change line in. This took out one of the yang lines at line 5. And we get 14, affluence. So some behaviors associated with affluence is cultivating inner virtue and wisdom. Remain humble and grounded despite your success or wealth that you might be accruing. Seek wisdom and self-improvement. Manage resources wisely, share abundance with others, practice moderation, understanding that overindulgence or greed can lead to downfall. In other words, don't gloat if you suddenly spawn sudden wealth, or if you already have it. Don't do that either. Integrity and ethical conduct. Gratitude and appreciation, leadership and influence. Do those types of things. Here's our all-important conversion chart. And we want to find the solar eclipse. It was at 9 degrees of Aries. We follow our chart, and the line points us to 9 degrees, which is over here. That puts us in Rave Mandala 17 and Sidereal Pisces. Now, normally in the past, I would read about the hexagram 17 of the Rave. It's called the Bodhisattva, but I don't want you to think that it's about becoming a Buddhist. It's not about that. The Buddhist reference is a metaphor, as I explain in the video. And because it's so in depth, there's a continuum. There's a blend of two planets that I read about and explain. That's in the other video, and I'll put that at the end of this video so that you can get into great detail, because this is going to take some behavioral components, as I mentioned in the comments. All right. Here's our summary. That's too much zoom. All right. We have the I-Ching 14 affluence. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow as our symbol. We have the Rave Mandala 17.6. It's actually coming out of a Zen state and sharing your wisdom, basically, nuts and bolts of that. And then the Pisces, Sidereal Pisces, is not any sort of behavior, but in an adverb. In an adverb, it's things like idealistically, emotionally, spiritually, intuitively, compassionately, mystically, fluidly, imaginatively. And then we have the new moon, solar eclipse. We also have the phase of waxing crescent moon, such as we have depicted here. So putting all that together, what is the overlaps here? Well, transformational mindset, that's for sure. Steer your mind towards adapting, enhancing, attracting goodness and a positive future. Include some generosity. It doesn't have to be monetary. Include generosity. Be kind. Don't gloat. Don't be too proud of yourself. That's kind of one of the downsides of the Aries influence, is that we kind of push the chest out and chest beat. But probably want to try to minimize that a little, as much as you can, just according to this triangulation. It's not wrong. It's just might not net you a bunch of results. So generosity would be better. Share your learned lessons from past patterns. That is the essence of our Rave Mandala reading. Meditate on the Rave 17.6. Care enough to advise, but ensure it's well received, and do not control the ones who you are advising. Next, limit the ego. Commit to a spiritual routine that A, grounds you during crises, B, guides you towards your life purpose or helps guide your life purpose, and C, becomes a positive influence on others. Number 4, integrate the opposites. This is a very Pisces and solar eclipse kind of suggestion. Integrate the opposites. Learn about integral theory. We live in a mindset some people say are contrived or manipulated into being dualistic. So it takes effort to get out of the matrix mentally, cognitively. So integral theory is a good one. Study the I-Ching and the Rave. The I-Ching is a series of continuums. Study paradoxes. Zen meditation, not that I'm an expert in this, but my understanding is they have some paradoxes to meditate on. So that would be an option. I also have a book by Barry Johnson, or a series of books actually, and he calls it the and both type of thinking. Barry Johnson, he's got some YouTube videos and interviews too. So integrate the opposites, highly recommended. And then social. So the affluence or the I-Ching 14 is definitely an outward or more of a social type of thing. The Rave Mandala, it's probably a little more social, because how are you going to give advice to no one? and to your, I guess you could give advice to yourself, but I think it's a little more social, although it could be both. And then the new moon is starting to be a little more social for sidereal Pisces. Yeah, I mean, sidereal Pisces, yeah, certainly can be alone, introverted even, but connected. It's that's mindset is in the connection, the oneness of life. So that is very social, even if it's more of a metaphor. Yin yang, the energies are creative, outward, confident, bold, and go get them. Like change your life. Even the mini grand trine. It's all sort of yang, but there is a strong Pisces. Now we're talking tropical, but the new moon, the mini grand trine, everything involved here, I think it's a lot more yang. So not completely. Venus moving back, regressing into tropical Pisces. Now, if this confuses you to where we have sidereal and tropical astrologies in the same reading, then go to my introduction video. It is an old video, but it explains why we use both systems. One's the solution, one's the influence. And the same thing is in both systems. Both systems don't want you to know that we can use both. You can't use both of them. Well, yes, you can. And you just need to know how to use them. And so we do. All right, now is remember, after this video, go to the show notes or go to this card right here. And that's the Rave Mandala, Gates 17, line 6. It's a very essential reading for all of us, especially when we become more bold from this energy. If it's all this boldness is just used for self and improving self, it's not wrong. It's just not maximizing your weak, not maximizing the energies. You're not going to get nearly as much success. So for those of you who are introverted, probably means you're going to have to get a little bit out and about to maximize this week. But you don't have to be a social butterfly. That's not indicated in this, but probably out and about and being seen and giving advice. All right, everybody. Man, what a great week. This is going to be a wonderful energy and lots of changes, lots of unpredictability, but we're going to rely on that Saturn as sextile Uranus and the trine over to Mars to really start putting the pieces the way they should be, the changes the way they should be. All right. Take care, everyone. Namaste. See you next week.